All right, happy New Year, everyone. I'm actually very surprised on how many requests I received to make this video. I didn't think this video was very popular last time, but I guess it's interesting. I thought it'd be boring for a lot of people, but a lot of people requested for it, so we're here again discussing the next phase of the season for our athletes and for you guys. Um, First and foremost, I want to thank everyone for being on ASP Swim. It basically allows us to do what we do, and your support means the world to us. So thank you so much. Um, yeah. First, I wanted to go over a couple mistakes I made last season. I think not every coach is perfect, and I wanted to be honest and transparent with everybody um, on the things that went well, the things that didn't go well. So I'm going to go back to last season. This is the programming, the mesocycles that we did from last season. I think the biggest mistake I made last season was we didn't have enough of a runway. So this is what 4, 8, 12. So basically 15 weeks before US Open. Um, Believe it or not, I feel like it's not a lot of time, 15 weeks. And um, not everybody came back here. Like we just finished Worlds and we just finished Nationals. So like not everybody was here. The whole team was not here. So some people came here, some people came here. And I just put everybody, whenever they came back, I just put them in the program. I didn't think like, okay, I should ramp them up or anything. I just threw them in there. And that was one mistake that I made. The other mistake I made was because I didn't have a lot of time, I wanted to get a lot of stuff in all at once, and I tried to jam pack everything. And so I kind of came away from my consolidated stress model. The consolidated stress model is where we go Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday is our heavy lift, and it's also our speed days in the pool. So all the stress is consolidated, and then Monday, Wednesday, Friday is easier. So they get a full day of recovery. I didn't do that because I wanted to get so much stuff in. And the things that I wanted to get in was a short and heavy destro cycle. So that means 10 meters on the destro. Dudes were going 140 pounds, and I believe the women were going like 90 or 100 pounds, something like that. It's pretty heavy. So they were doing that, and they were going hard in the gym, uh, not consolidated. So this was let me see. Yeah, this was the first week that we consolidated that stress when we went 5 times a week. When we were going 4, like they'd go heavy in the gym, heavy destro, heavy in the gym, heavy destro, heavy in the gym, and we did that, these 3 weeks, and that was a big mistake. We ended up having like a couple nagging injuries that kind of lasted throughout the season, and that's my fault, and I think it's partly attributed to this. So the thing I learned from that is I need to be patient and think long term, think in 3-year time cycles, not just a couple weeks. I got too greedy, so that's one thing I learned learned from that experience. Yeah, and I think one of the other things was I don't know if we needed to swim 6 times here. So this is swim frequency. So we started off with 3 swims, and then we bumped up to 4, and then 5, and then we went 6 swims. The one I felt like we probably didn't need was this Wednesday skills. A lot of the time, like after the Tuesday, they're pretty beat up, and then on Wednesday, like I kind of felt my gut was telling me like, hey, just swim, 20, 30 minutes and just go home. But then we have people driving an hour to get to our pool. So I was like, okay, I don't want them to drive an hour to swim 20 minutes. So I got to make it worthwhile. And then I would just throw stuff in there. I'm not sure that we needed it. It might have just been better for them to take it off or swim at a local lap pool by their house for 15, 20 minutes. Maybe that would have been better. I'll go over it in the next slide, but I think we're going to reduce that a little bit. In terms of the gym, I think we came off of strength a little bit too soon. So here we started doing, excuse me, I believe we started doing some dynamic effort work here, and we started stripping the load off like trap bar and squats and stuff. But I think we could have extended it out a little bit further. The time to 15 meters for everybody was not as great as I would have liked it to have been. And I think that's attributed to their jumping ability not being as high as it could have been. That's my theory. Everything is in theory, right? So I think I'm going to extend the strength phase out a little bit longer before the main competition and not just go into speed strength too soon. So I think this needs to be a little bit longer. And also there's a ton of individual variance as well. And I need to consider that. Some people can handle the strength work all the way up. Some people need to back off a little bit earlier. That's something I learned. I need to adjust a little bit better per individual, depending on, your body type, experience, yada, yada, yada. Generally speaking, people with more muscle, they need a little bit more time to recover. People with less muscle, they can train hard all the way up to the meet. That's a very general statement. I would experiment on your own and see what works best for you. Other than that, I think everything went pretty well. The team actually swam pretty well. Marina went first best time in 2.5 years. Calvin dropped 0.27 seconds. Santi went a best time, the first one in a year and a half. Santo, he missed his hands, so I'm not sure. And the 50 butterfly, I think it was a best time. He says it wasn't, but I'm pretty sure it was. I couldn't find his best time, but who knows? But it was pretty close to his best time anyways. Natalie actually went a best time in the 50 fly, but unfortunately she twitched on the block, so she got disqualified. And she swam her first sub-minute in the 100 fly, the first time in 2 or 3 years, so that was pretty cool. So the team did pretty well on this program. I think it could have been better. Well, obviously, we're always striving for better, but this year, the plan is this is what we're going to do. So I'll go row by row. In terms of events, I only row up to Westmont. And the primary reason for that is I want to see how the athletes respond to this program or the system first before I make any decisions going forward. And the other thing is we have different athletes going to different trials and different games this summer. So, for example, I have Hong Kong Asian Games trials right here for Natalie. Calvin doesn't know yet what his Commonwealth Game trials are like. If he has to go to trials, it's going to be somewhere around here. Santi's South American trials are actually going to be this. Marina doesn't have a trials. Santo has to do nationals and PAMPAC. So everybody's a little bit different. So I haven't written this out yet because I think I'm going to individualize it a little bit more depending on what meet each athlete is swimming. And so, yeah, I'm only writing up to here for now, and because I want to see how they respond, and then I have to individualize it for everybody after that. So to make up for the mistakes that I made last season, I'm going to stick with my consolidated stress model where we're going easy on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday is our quote unquote hard days. So if we go row by row, swim frequency, the first 4 weeks, we're only swimming 3 times a week. And then I'm going to bump it up to 4 and then bump it up to 5 in preparation for Westmont. And I'm going to keep it at 5 just to see how they respond. I'm debating on making this 4 or 5. I don't know yet. I'm going to kind of play it by ear. Destro emphasis. The other mistake I made was, as I said here, we kind of went right into the heavy destro stuff. I think they need a little bit more of a runway. So right now we're doing light parachute stuff. If you see cord buoy, that just means it's a cord buoy. It's a buoy attached to a cord, and that buoy acts as a parachute. It's actually lighter than a parachute, so I'm kind of using that as a progression. After cord buoy, we'll progress to parachutes and so on and so forth. And we might actually go like double parachute before we go into destro work. And the other thing I want to change is we went all out on the destro from day one. And I don't know if that was intelligent or not, but I think there is some value in sub-maximal work. Sub-max meaning not all out. So not on a scale of 1 to 10, we're not going 10 on the first day. Maybe we're starting with a 7, 6 or 7, focusing more on technique. So we're going to go parachute, and then we'll go sub-max for 2 weeks, and then max for 2 weeks before we go to Westmont on that 5th week. So yeah, swim frequency 333, 4 and then 555. Again, I'm debating 4 or 5 here. Destro loads on the sub max. I think I'm gonna keep the same loads around 140 pounds for the guys, 140 or 100 pounds for the women. I think that if we start at sub max, they might be able to handle. Oh, sorry. No, I'm not going to go 140 pounds. I'm going to go 140 pounds here when we go 10 meters. On the 20 meters, I'm probably going to go lighter, maybe 100 pounds for the men. Maybe not 100, maybe 70, something like that. And 45 for the women, something like that. I haven't quite decided yet. It'll be up on ASB Swim. But yeah, we're going to go 20 meters first and before we go heavy 10 meters. So it'll be longer at 20 meters, but lighter before we go shorter and heavier is kind of the idea here. And I picked that up from Tim Lane, Cam McAvoy's coach. I kind of learned that from him. So the first 4 weeks here, Monday skills GPP. So if you saw today's workout, it was a lot of IM work, some skill stuff, drills, very easy. GPP is kind of getting back into shape, so we actually did some aerobic work. Surprise. So that's kind of what Monday, Wednesday, Friday will look like for the next 4 weeks. And we're actually not going to swim on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. We're going to go pretty hard in the gym. We've got a nice GPP block coming up. I'm pretty stoked about it. I actually just finished one of the workouts because I wanted to test everything out, make sure it flowed well. And I enjoyed it. I felt pretty good. I felt like it was productive. And the primary purpose around this GPP block is to help reduce the risk of injury later in the year, because we've got a long year ahead. We've got February, March, April, May, June, July. We've got to swim fast in August, September, depending on who you are. So I really want to use this GPP block to set the foundation to keep our athletes healthy for the rest of the year. So I'm using the 1x20 protocol from Dr. Michael Yesis. If you Google it, it'll come up. So in the GPP block, this one we're going everything. There's 30 exercises, but it's only one set of 20. And the progression goes on day 1. Week 1, day 1 is an RP 4 out of 10. So it's very easy. It should feel almost like it's unproductive. But then week 1, day 2 becomes RP 5, and then it goes RP 6 on day 3. And then week 2, you go RP 5, 6, 7. Week 3 goes RP 6, 7, 8. And then week 4 goes RP 7, 8, 9. So you're progressively getting harder every week and within the week as well. In addition to the 1x20 stuff, there's a lot of overcoming isometric work. So in terms of isometrics, there's yielding and there's overcoming isometrics. Overcoming isometrics means you're pushing against an immovable object. Yielding isometrics means you're just holding a position, say like a push-up. You're holding the bottom of a push-up. There's potential for movement. Overcoming iso would be if you're pushing a barbell bench against upside down on pins and you can't move. So that's the difference between overcoming and yielding isos. And I wanted to do overcoming isos because there's some good research on tendon health and also rate of force development on overcoming isos. It's low risk, it's high stimulus, it's low fatigue. There's injury risk reduction principles behind the tendon stuff. And we had a lot of weird tendon things happen last season. So in order to combat that, I'm going to introduce overcoming isometrics. Plyotype. So basically you have intensive and extensive plyos. Intensive plyos means that you're doing 1 rep as hard as you can. So for example, like a med ball seated jump, that was a movement that we had a bunch in the last couple blocks. You're doing 1 rep as hard as you can. You reset, rest 10, 20 seconds, and then go again. Extensive plyos, think jump roping, hurdle hops, bounds. You're doing multiple jumps over and over and over again. And I'm going to use that one to kind of help develop athleticism, springiness, stiffness in the ankles, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, hope that helps. Hope you guys found it interesting. Feel free to leave any comments, questions below. I think there's a comment section below, and I will get to them as quickly as I can. Thanks, guys. Bye.